Hello, this is Katherine Marie, and you are listening to Long COVID Real Talk podcast. I wanted to talk about a little trip that we went on back east for a family wedding. I did use all of the things I had at my disposal to minimize the effort that I needed to expend to go to the wedding. I did the things that I've talked about before that I recommend doing, like having someone push you in a wheelchair in the airport. I think the very first flight, I think I walked on my own because it wasn't super far. But the rest of the time, I had someone pushing me in a wheelchair from gate to gate or from gate to baggage claim. The wedding itself was beautiful. It was in a beautiful church. I really enjoyed being there with my husband's family, and it was the first time that all the cousins had been together in a really long time. So I was really happy that we made it. The wedding ceremony itself was really nice, and I had no problem with it at all. Then at the reception, I had forgotten my earplugs, and I was kicking myself for forgetting my earplugs because I know better, but I did forget. So I did really well at the reception until the music started playing. Also, it was very loud, and once it got loud and music started playing, I was having a really hard time hearing the other people at the table. And what I kept doing, because I didn't want to keep saying what. So I just kept nodding my head and trying to mirror whatever was on their face to show, a similar emotive response to whatever they were saying, but I couldn't hear almost anything the entire dinner. And just trying to make out what people were saying was so draining that I started to shake a little bit. And by the end of dinner, not like visibly shake, but like my arm started shaking when I would put my drink up to my mouth to take a drink. I was not, just to make it clear, I was not drinking alcohol. I was drinking water, but it really, really sapped my energy trying to talk to other people while I had a hard time hearing them. And then once the music started and they had cut the cake, but we hadn't received cake yet, they were doing their first dance, the first dance with the parents. And at that point, once the music started, it became much louder once it became the focus of everyone's attention. And I started to get a headache. I started to shake a little more. And my husband was like, okay, we need to go. Like the people at the table were kind of looking at me and whispering to each other. And I felt embarrassed. They might not have been talking about me. It just looked like they were looking at me and talking to each other. But I was so out of it that I couldn't even care. I couldn't make myself not be embarrassed because I couldn't really control my body anymore at that point. So I was embarrassed, frustrated. My husband and I had talked about how fun it will be because we're approaching our 10th anniversary this year. So we were talking about how fun it would be to do that dance that a lot of wedding receptions do, where everybody dances with their partner, and whoever has been together the longest wins the dance competition or whatever. So we had to leave really, really early, and that made me really sad. That being said, I knew that it was the right decision because I was stumbling over my feet. I was shaking, and not like horribly vigorously or anything like that, just like a little tremor, like tremoring, I guess is a better word to use. And Mike took my hand and kind of led me around the back of all the tables and behind, like just kind of try to get out as discreetly as possible. And we had to walk by the groom and bride, and the bride said, "Oh, thank you so much for coming." I met her at another wedding and I wanted to, talk to her, but I couldn't. My brain was just not functioning very well. And I just kind of smiled and nodded, just trying to have the social interaction that was as positive as I could make it without, like, as much as I could control myself, when just trying to do something social. As soon as we got outside, I sat down right away at the edge of a sign outside the place, and my husband went to get the car. As soon as he came and got me, I put the seat back in the car and laid down and just fell asleep, or just allowed myself to be completely out of it, I guess, at that point. So I keep going over it in my head, like, what could I have done differently? The night before, when we got there, we were celebrating my birthday because it was my birthday, and we were staying with friends. We had a small birthday party with them and us and one other friend that came over. And even then, I was really struggling to come up with words to say. Like my brain was not able to function. And I've never been good at small talk, but I was more painfully aware of that more than usual during the little party. And I was really glad that it was a very small party because I was able to withdraw, pretty easily if I needed to. And nobody minded, they all know what's going on. And so that was good. And I apologized the next day to one of the friends that we were staying with and just said, I'm really sorry. Like, last night, I feel like I was not really able to have good conversations with people because my brain was not really working that great. Um, but I really appreciate the birthday party, and I had a lot of fun and everything, and it was great to see everybody, and so that is how long COVID affected the weekend. The tremoring thing is kind of new. I'm not really sure why it started. If you have tremoring, like, let me know, or like if you know what causes it or whatever. But it was an exercise in acceptance, because, like, even as I'm talking right now and holding my phone up to my mouth, my arm is tremoring a little bit. And, like, I know that my brain's not working like super well compared to what it's capable of, but I just wanted to process the wedding and kind of share what happened, because I know I'm not the only one who has embarrassing things happen in public. And I also absolutely hate riding in a wheelchair at the airport. I hate it so much. I can't wait to get out of it. Everybody looks at me like, you're disabled. Like, they don't believe me, and it's so frustrating because they see me walk off the plane, But anyway, the one really, really good thing that occurred from all of this is that today I'm not completely bedridden. And I think that is a huge improvement over what I was like even a few weeks ago. So I'll take that as a win and as evidence that I'm slowly getting better. It doesn't change all the frustration and embarrassment and, all that. But it was like, if I just accept it the way it is, just accept my current reality, I think we did really well going to a wedding and seeing friends. And, I mean, we slept all day yesterday and all last night pretty much because our flight was super, super early yesterday. But overall, I think it went about as well as it could have gone, with long COVID and all that. So anyway, so wrapping up, the things that I would like, the takeaways that I would say is that if you are going to go to a social setting, don't be afraid to go a little late. Like we missed the cocktail hour, especially because during the cocktail hour, you can't sit down. They have those tall tables and they drink alcohol, which we don't need because our bodies are messed up already. We don't need alcohol on top of it. At least I don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad at holding my liquor, but we purposely skipped the cocktail hour because we don't really drink and because there were no chairs for me to sit down. And then I should have brought earplugs. Unfortunately, I was seated right next to the band and the speaker, but I guess in the future I would try to find a place to escape to. A wedding that we went to several weeks ago, I was starting to experience headache, and like the flashing lights were really making my brain like go crazy. And I was able to leave the reception, and they had the reception also outside, and it was quieter and it was a beautiful night, and I was able to escape. And because of that, I was able to stay a lot longer at that wedding, even though I didn't end up dancing at all inside with, the loud band or whatever. I was able to be outside and sitting, but for this one, there was no place to escape. So I can understand why I expired and turned into a pumpkin faster than I did at the other wedding that we went to several weeks ago. So I don't know. I keep thinking about what I should have done differently. The only thing I can think of that I could have done differently was to remember to bring earplugs. But other than that, I didn't have a lot of control over my surroundings. So because I had very limited control over the surroundings, I think I did it about as well as I could do. And that is something to be not proud of per se, but content with, I think. So that is how I'm thinking about it. I'm content with how the weekend went, and I'm really glad that we went. It was great to see everybody. Anyway, best wishes to you if you are going to social gatherings this summer, picnics or weddings or graduation parties, First Holy Communion celebrations, what have you. There are so many things during this time of year that you have to go to. Just don't be afraid to come late, leave early, don't sit by the band if there's a band, just like all these things, like to try to save your brain bandwidth as much as you can. So, all right. Well, that's it. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again real soon. Okay. Take care.